I'm Kuladharini, and I work here at the Scottish Recovery Consortium, which is a charity that's been set up to promote recovery from addiction in Scotland. We've been involved in lots of social action and thought leadership within Scotland around the areas of addiction recovery. And we're really interested in organisationally joining with other people in the whole population who are interested in asset-based, positive culture change in Scotland. It's a long journey, really. I'm in recovery from addiction myself. I'm probably in long-term recovery from addiction and mental health problems. I was a treatment provider for a good number of years, and somewhere in the middle of that treatment provision, when I was running treatment services in the Gorbals, the recovery policy came in, and I was quite inspired to remember that what I was in the business of was helping people get better, not managing the problem. So how did I come here? Well, because we started to help people get better and not manage the problem, not just manage the problem, we started to build this thing called a recovery, recovery. We didn't call it a movement then, we called it kind of a community. So we burst out of the treatment service and into the local area, and we started to impact on the local area by working together with people in recovery.
And was that a different way of looking at addiction? It sounds like it's a completely kind of flipping it on its side.
Yes, it's instead of focusing, well, I suppose it's under the paradigm of that which you focus on is what you become. And so the thrust of the recovery policy, the road to recovery policy, is that to remember that the goal of treatment is recovery, not managing the addiction, not coping with the addiction. Now, these are all good things that you will do as part of that process, but remember that the goal is to help people get better. And I know it sounds incredibly simple, but even I forgot that's what the business was about, and I was in recovery. So yeah, so it was brilliant. It was like one of those moments when you go, oh my, I remember why I exist. I was off. I was going to be a full-time order member. I was going to be a full-time spiritual practitioner. I was going for ordination. I was going for a very long retreat. I weren't coming back. Do you know what I mean? And something happened in that moment, saying that actually this calls me. This calls every bit of me. It calls the personal. It calls my engaged organisational head, and it also calls me spiritually. And when I moved to this post, I didn't want to particularly leave where I was, but the movement required that somebody moved. And I consulted with the recovery community in my area about whether it was the right thing. I consulted with my staff team, I consulted with my spiritual friends, I consulted with everybody before I applied for this job, to say, is it okay that I apply? Because it would mean leaving something I love and I'm deeply connected with. But the feeling was that Scotland needed something more, and they needed that experience to move up a level, and I was one of the people who had that experience. And I applied for it and was very fortunate to get it, and I was very pleased to get it. But it's been a big job, and we've done a lot with it collectively. One strand of our work is whole population work, and trying to create, it's just one strand of our work. We help treatment get better in terms of being more recovery oriented. We support local Indigenous recovery communities flourishing. And then with all of this together, we turn towards the whole population and go, look at what you can do. You can recognise that recovery from addiction is thriving in Scotland, and that is actually going to help more people get into recovery. So that positive message, so there's something that everyone do. So initially we thought recovery walks was a big intervention. It's internationally done during the month of September, and we were taking our place at the international table. And we thought that was about, initially I thought the recovery walk was about getting the family together, and I talk about that as just the families, all the tribes of recovery coming together and feeling strong, so that we would get our courage bones for another year of action. Right? And that certainly happened. We were high as a kite after the walk, high as a kite during it. It's just amazing. I mean, hundreds of people in recovery. And what we started to recognise in the Royal Mile last year when we took the Royal Mile was actually, this was a major recovery visibility. People were looking and going, that's people in recovery. That's what they look like. They're out, they're proud, and they're in recovery, and it changes their picture. So this is more of an intervention in the whole population. So this year, we've just had Recovery Walk Scotland 2015, and we had it back in Glasgow, and there were 2,000 people on the streets of Glasgow walking. It's beautiful. It was utterly beautiful. And the joy of just this mass of people in recovery in a really, I mean, the police said we were the most disciplined walk they've ever seen. Disciplined, joyous, musical, chanting, through just, you know, our slogan is thank you very much, I'm okay today. Do you know what I mean? That's how many demonstrations you get through this again. No, thank you very much, I'm okay today, thank you. And folk weren't going, well, that's a bit different. And there was this transcendent moment when the Recovery Walk met the Independence rally by mistake, and it was they were having a rally in George Square, and and we came through George Square, and there was just beautiful moment when they turned en masse and applauded us. It was just incredible. It was the peak experience for all of us, just being acknowledged by people on the street in such a way, but that for a rally to turn away from its own concerns and turn towards us and applaud us. And of course we applauded them right back. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's Recovery Walk, a major intervention in public consciousness, and just an amazing thing to be part of, actually. We've got a campaign on methadone running, which is, we call it the ORT Recovery Campaign. And we've been doing events with clinicians throughout the country, helping them get their heads around how can they build more successful recovery exits from the methadone programme. So that's again our contribution to our government policy. Big review, we made a contribution, let's help more people successfully exit. So that was one. And so people in recovery have been joining those conversations to share their learning with clinicians, and clinicians have been sharing their learning with people in recovery. So that's one of the ways we go about our business, people get involved. So in Edinburgh, we had one in Edinburgh, we had one in Dundee, and then we had one in Aberdeen recently. You've probably got about 30 to 40 people in recovery in the room teaching 70 to 80 clinicians, and clinicians sharing with them. It's brilliant, they're really, really brilliant. Recently, as I say, we had this experimental event with Nick at the Skilled Workers, Skilled Citizens, and we were really interested to find that there were other people interested in asset-based life in Scotland, and it was really exciting for us to go, oh my, people are thinking the same as us. We're not only in a wee silo, there are people out there who also see the benefit of this positive asset-based approaches. So when we met Nick, it was like fantastic, and we decided to do an event together which was posited around the idea of what does public service need to be in recovery from? What does public service need to recover from? And that would be, everybody would have a perspective on that, because we all experience public service, and the recovery movement's got a bit of experience about recovery, so we could, you know, what could we offer? So we had a huge event called Out of the Blue, a big conversation about recovering hope. It was amazing, I really enjoyed it, and that's where we came in touch with the idea of the ULab. So after that process, when the email came out about ULab, I was ready and thought, no, we'll play your game. It was really good, and it just felt like there was a lot of the values that we were interested in, a lot of practices that we were interested in, and that we would learn. So instead of having a recovery summit this year, we were all at ULab. I'm a host of the hub here. It's a very small hub we have here, which is looking at the national picture of recovery in Scotland. That's what we started off looking at. That's what we started off with. Where we are now is we're continuing this theme of recovery turning to the world, and wondering how we can contribute to the paradigm shift in Scotland, of a paradigm shift towards a human flourishing, a recovering of our human flourishing. So we've got to nail that down today into a sentence that both the left brain and the right brain people can stomach. So we've got to find a thing that we can both do it happily.